The NFL has fined Richard Sherman for his hit on Bills kicker Dan Carpenter in Seattle Monday night.
It is a hefty bill for a move officials didn't penalize him for during the game. Here's Paul Sylvie. This strange play just keeps getting stranger.
I know, man. It's going to be Sunday. We'll still be talking about it. It wasn't a matter of if Sherman would get fined, really just a matter of how much he would be fined. In a league that fines a player $15,000 for wearing the wrong socks or another guy $15,000 for wearing his socks too low, it's no surprise Richard Sherman would get rung up for running into a kicker. The NFL fined him $9,000 for unnecessary roughness when he blasted Buffalo kicker Dan Carpenter Monday night. Keep in mind, Sherman was not penalized for this collision. The NFL's head of officiating, Dean Blandino, the rest of the refs missed the call, and Sherman should have received a personal foul on the play. Now, it's not unusual for refs to miss calls. We've seen enough of them here in Seattle. Just look back at that Monday night game against the Packers a while ago. But now, it's also not unusual for a player to avoid a penalty in a game, but a few days later get fined for that play, as in Sherman's case. I mean, this happens more often maybe than people think. Last week alone, Arizona's Calais Campbell tackled Panthers quarterback Cam Newton low around his knees. No penalty in the game, but a few days later, the league fined Campbell $18,000. Of note, the officials made 3 errors in the sequence on Monday night, and they were not disciplined. So it's really just a cluster there. And you got to remember that the NFL referees are part-time employees. There's a big push to make these guys full-time NFL employees. And they haven't done that yet over the years. There's $9 billion a year. They don't want to pay these guys to be full-time employees.
The league doesn't have enough money to
That's
make
the problem. Right. You got to keep them part-time, no benefits, you know. So, but anyway, that's a big push for them to be full-time to try to eliminate these mistakes.
Yeah. It seemed to resonate with them.
It's a different hope and change.
Right. We're just getting word that NBC has declared Jay Inslee the victor in the Washington race for governor, and Senator Patty Murray. They are projecting the winner in the race for U.S. Senate.
He had a message that resonated with people across both party lines, and they swam to him across fraught waters, because even the Republican Party at times looked terribly uncomfortable with Trump as their nominee.
Yeah, Donald Trump is a brand. He's a brand. He's a brand of his own. And the Republican Party's here, but here's Donald Trump. And so a lot of people just underestimated him. I'll put my hand up. I underestimated him. I didn't think he would make it through the process.
He was mad about McCleary. He was frustrated with the legislature. These two folks are coming into office. Talk about this race, you guys. What are your thoughts? It's very close.
I think it's a down ballot race. People don't focus on it as much. There was a little bit of skirmishing against what maybe Aaron Jones said or didn't on some issues. But I think the consensus was Reckdahl was going to have a much more impressive number at this point.
I think what's surprising, though, is in our polling and other polling, the number of undecideds, just because these down ballot races were not getting a whole lot of attention, in large part because of the nature of the presidential race this year. So when it came to some of these statewide offices that were open seats, a lot of people, a lot of voters just were not familiar with these candidates. So it's really come down to a lot of who had the insider support.
Campaigns these days are played out very differently. Social media plays a big part in that, and Amanda Grace is standing by with more on the social media impact and what's going on tonight. Amanda?
And some of the Senate races as well, too.
Yeah, you know what, we're actually going to be taking a look at some of the balance of power and what's happening in both the House and the Senate.
Again, it looks like Jay Inslee projected right now to have won a second term, but you would not be able to tell that right now with this crowd here behind me at the Downtown Westin. Back to you.
Thank you, Chris. A very nervous crowd indeed. We will be right back with more election coverage for you right after this. That some of them are moving their precincts to Cal Anderson Park, which I suppose if you can do that, if you can get everybody herded over there,
Although
that's
I
totally
wonder,
legitimate.
this is going to delay results, because we were expecting results around as early as 2. You know, the process they were hoping would be complete by noon, and then they could start tallying all of the precincts. So this could throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in their day.
So to explain to viewers, okay, the precinct officials are taking these votes that they've collected at the precinct caucuses, and they're going to actually, some of them are going to take them home and officially tally them out and report them to the Democratic organization, and then we'll
But
have some
I
totals.
hope they're counting them there.
Yeah.
If they're taking them home, I'm going to be a little nervous. But
Right.
And you saw in that Northeast precinct in Seattle, everybody was watching them count.
So Oregon's primary in May, coming up in May, what is your sense for Sanders' support in Oregon? You're from our sister station in Portland, so what are you hearing on the ground?
Right, so again, kind of the same thing in Oregon, because as you know, Bernie has done several appearances recently here in our area between Vancouver and Portland. And if you're not familiar with the area, the two are just right on the river. A river separates the state line there. So really, I think we will see that carry over to the Oregon side, over to the Portland side. Just yesterday, Bernie held a rally at the Moda Center, which is in downtown area of Portland, and thousands of people attended that rally. And that's kind of the vibe we're getting when we're talking to people today, is a lot of voters are saying, you know, Bernie doing the rallies here between Vancouver and Portland did play a big role in their decision-making process. And the organizer of the caucus here did echo that. He said, you know, Bernie got out here, he was meeting with the people, doing these events, and he really got a lot of the younger demographic out to his events. So I'm not a political analyst, but if I were to just talk about what I expect to play out in Oregon, I would say that we might see the same type of thing as far as voter turnout and delegate count, or voter turnout rather, in Oregon when we head into the primary, which is in May.
Good morning and welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Natalie Brand. Why do you think either of you is qualified to step into this job? We'll start with you, Mr. McLaughlin.
Well, I've been trained in firefighting. I've actually fought fire.
We need to ensure that we're implementing an active management plan on our forest and our agricultural lands, because we have 3 million acres of forest that are in poor health, which is why we're seeing more catastrophic wildfires. We also
Sound Transit 3 is a big ask of taxpayers and voters, but supporters say it's a critical investment in regional infrastructure. Critics say it's too expensive and argue it's a cost-benefit issue here. Joining us for a discussion and mini debate on the issue, we have King County Councilmember Claudia Balducci on the yes side, and on the no side, Bellevue Councilmember Kevin Wallace to argue against it. Thank you so much for being here this morning.